A few days later, Woody, True, and Wise have wrapped up their business in New York City. When Woody and Wise arrived, he made introductions. And Wise, a tall, light-skinned, freckled-faced, green-eyed man, ripped after 15 years of heavy lifting on the yard and a surprisingly healthy diet, even in the slammer. As a result of his 5%er diet, was intrigued by the beautiful True. He hadn't had sex in months. The female guard, who had been helping Tough and his crew smuggling contraband, had also been helping him flush his pipes, was transferred a few months before he got out. The team had replaced that guard with another one, but she was hooked up with Wise's replacement, Tough's new right-hand man. So he hadn't bothered to find another guard to lay pipe on. The beautiful, petite, but curvaceous True was right up his fresh out the slammer alley. When he flirted with her, though, she could barely finish shutting him down before Woody said, "Yo, we do all our work with our clothes on, son. This ain't that. When we get back to Texas, there'll be plenty of broads for you to choose from. But the team and the family are off limits. Feel me? Why I say, I got no problem. I got you. You should have just said that was your work, and I wouldn't have pressed her." Offended, True said, "I'm not his work. If anything, he was mine." Peep the past tense. This is strictly business. And I don't need you to speak for me, Woody. And no need for y'all niggas to compare sizes, because mine is bigger. And Wise, for the record, a fresh jailbird could never. Whether you were doing the bending or getting bent ain't my business or my gynecologist. And I prefer to keep it that way. And she sashayed to the airline counter to check her bags. Wise said to her back, "I ain't never been bent. And the only thing I'm bending is natural born women in unnatural positions, shorty." On the plane back to Dallas, True and Woody were seated together. When they were both caught up on all the recent developments, Woody said, "Yo, I need you to do me a solid in exchange for my continued tutelage. My mother throws this annual family and friends vacation every year. This year is going to be in Denver, some skiing mess. And every year, she brings some broad that she want to hook me up with. The only way I can deter is to bring a date." True said, "Nigga, I ain't no escort. And even if I were, your tutelage is not a fair exchange. In exchange for your tutelage, I've been putting in work. Fair exchange ain't no robbery." Woody said, "Nah, I'm trying to up the ante. I'm headed back to the DR. Do me this solid, and you can go with me. And that will be a real lesson in putting in work." True said, "Now that sounds like a deal, but I'm going to have to run it by my boss." Meanwhile, back in Dallas, Pastor and Corey and Stephanie are having some words. Corey says, "I can't miss the convention. First of all, I've been helping the organizers in Angela's absence. And second of all, I'm being honored, Stephanie. I understand that you can't go. You're too far along. But I'll be there and back in no time. And if anything happens, I can get back here." Stephanie said, "That's not my concern. My concern is that your homegirl, Kim." Corey cuts off and says, "That's not my homegirl. She's my peer. And she and I wouldn't even be working together on this if Angela was available. You know that. Jealousy is not attractive." Stephanie said, "Jealousy? That's what you think this is? We'll finish this conversation later. I need to go." When True, Woody, and Wise land in Dallas, Stephanie's waiting curbside to pick up True. When True gets in the car, Stephanie tells her all about Corey's impending trip and about her suspicions. Stephanie says, "Yeah, him and his broad Kim done got real friendly. And if they haven't started one already, the writing is on the wall. They're going to use this conference as an opportunity to get things popping." True said, "You mean an affair? Corey? Girl, I know y'all been having some turmoil, but he not the type." Stephanie said, "Everything with a penis is the type. He's a man before he's a man of God." True said, "Well, if you don't want him, why you care?" Stephanie said, "I might be off him, but a nigga never make a fool out of me. You want to be with somebody else? He can wait until I had his baby and blow town. But he won't live in my house and lay in my bed and have a mistress at the same damn time." Then True says, "You said the conference is in Denver? That's crazy." Then she tells Stephanie all about Woody's somewhat indecent proposal. Stephanie says, "Hell, We can kill 3 birds with 1 stone. You can go with him on his family trip, show up at that end of the program gala, and see what's really going on with my husband and that broad. And go with Woody to the DR, put in work, and make yourself known to my Uncle Manny. And I know just how to maximize your time in Denver. I'm going to get you Corey and Kim's itinerary and their accommodation information. I'm going to also get you a digital key to their hotel rooms. When True asks how on earth Stephanie's going to do that, Stephanie says, I've got access to a hacker who can make that happen. The Queen Mother walked into the study where Pops Andy was having a drink and smoking a cigar. When he looked up, she said, "Who is she, Anders?" Pops Andy sat his glass down and said, "Who is who, Bella?" The Queen Mother said, "Don't play with me. I'm not going to ask you again." Pops Andy said, "I don't." And before he could finish that sentence, the Queen Mother slapped a stack of photographs on the table. Then she said, "I've gotten older, not dumber, and I move a little slower, but my aim is still good. I told you when we got married, I'll be a widow before I'll be a divorcee. Now you've had 44 seconds to come up with a good answer. You better make it good." A few days later, Q is visiting Angela at the hospital. She's 31 weeks pregnant, and other than some mild Braxton Hicks, she hasn't had any more contractions. If all continues to go well, she'll be going home in a few days. Maribel has lifted the complete bed rest and put Angela back on modified. So Q and the children have come to visit, and they've rolled Angela out to the hospital garden. They're enjoying the sun and laughing at the children who are trying to show them the latest viral dance that they learned on social media. When the Queen Mother appears and says that she's there to pick up the kids, Q's surprised to see her, but Angela isn't. When the couple's alone, Angela says, "Baby, when you get home, pack your bags and head back to the DR." Shocked, Q looked at her and said, "Say what?" And then Angela said, "You heard me. Go and get your brother. I can see that your soul is in turmoil." She rubs her belly and says, "I trust God, and I know that you won't be able to live with yourself if you don't see this through. And I don't want something to go wrong and you have regrets, or for the family you came from to get between you and the family we're creating." Q said, "I've been praying and asking God to just give me peace around staying here with you." Angela said, "Well, I've been praying too. And after Corey's sermon last Sunday, I realized why I haven't had any peace either. I've been praying and asking God to keep you here. And the minute I accepted that you have to go back, I found the peace that I needed." Q hugged and kissed Angela's lips and her belly, and then he said to their unborn babies, "Listen, V and Isla, I need you two to stay put and be good for Mommy. Wait for me to come back before you make your grand entrance." Then he tells Angela, "And you need to have that conversation with Stephanie. I told you to have it out with her once and for all, but this time, she's gone too damn far." When Maribel came out to the waiting room, she was surprised to see Anya there. The nurse had paged her and told her that her sister-in-law was up front. Knowing that this had to be important, Maribel escorted Anya back to her office. Inside, Anya ran down her whole situation, and Maribel was shocked. She asked, "And nobody in your family knows about this?" Anya said, "My husband knows." Maribel asked, "And this wasn't handled at the hospital? Because they usually..." Anya said, "I didn't go to the hospital. And this is Texas. They no longer do DNCs as a routine part of medical care after a sexual assault." Maribel just sat back in her chair, stunned. Then she said, "So I assume that there's not a man running around." Anya said, "Don't worry about that. That's not why I'm here." Then she handed Maribel a sheet of paper and said, "The information you need to access my husband's blood sample, if you agree to be my gynecologist of record." When Stephanie walked into Angela's hospital room, Angela was coming out of the bathroom. She'd summoned Stephanie to the hospital to have that long overdue conversation. She'd been hesitant to ruffle Stephanie's feathers, but what Q told her had ratcheted up the stakes. So when Stephanie looked her up and down and said, "Oh, you fancy, huh?" Because Angela was dressed in a custom nightgown that had snap closures like a hospital gown, She sees that her big sister is pissed, and she knows the look on her face all too well. The last time she saw it was when she was 14 and she had disrespected their mother, and Angela showed up at home and whooped Stephanie's whole and entire behind while yelling, "The power of Christ compels you," because she was convinced that her sister was possessed. So Stephanie's brain told her to run and duck at the same time. But being 33 weeks pregnant, she couldn't move fast enough to avoid the left hook that Angela landed on her jaw. Before she could even put her hand up to protect her face or a hand down to brace her fall, Angela had snatched her by her shirt and slammed her on the hospital bed, climbed on top of her, and had a knee in her chest. Stephanie was trying to get Angela off of her and defend herself, but the two heavily pregnant women were all arms and legs tangled up together, and Angela had Stephanie by her spoonful of hair and was giving her the business. Stephanie could barely scream. Help. If it wasn't for the fact that Angela was connected to a wireless heart monitor, nobody would have even known that she was whooping Stephanie's whole and entire behind. When the nurse came in to see why her heart rate was so high, she saw the two women tussling on the bed and hit the alarm for security. When the security guards arrived, it took two of them and the nurse to get Angela and Stephanie separated. When they did, Stephanie had a busted lip and her hair was all over her head. Her shirt was ripped and both women were having contractions. Then Angela said, "If you ever involve my son in your bull or the Lopez's, I will end your new career before it gets started good. Now, Corey might be willing to let you play in his damn face, but you won't ever play in mine. Do you hear me, little girl?" Meanwhile, in the Dominican Republic, the four families have made it clear to the Ramirez family that they have made a huge mistake. They're playing with all four families' legacy, and that means that any and everybody can get it. And even with Manny's ultimatum, the Ramirezes are holding out. They want money, drugs, and their seat at the table back. They don't even want Donovan. They just want an opportunity to rebuild what they lost more than 30 years before. The new head of the Ramirez family is J.R. Raul Ramirez Jr., the son of the man that the Queen Mother killed. And he has no loyalty. The four families have snatched up or killed every person in or connected to the Ramirez family, including the families of JR's right-hand man and all of his generals. They thought that if his family being snatched wasn't enough, JR's men would apply enough pressure to their boss in an effort to rescue their families that he would relent and have no other choice but to release Donovan. They thought wrong. So when Q got there, he was done playing. He sent a message to JR's phone from a satellite phone. And that message included a photo of all of JR's kids tied up in the bloody bodies of his wife and his mistress. And a text that said, "You want to make a deal? You'll have to do it in person and bring my brother with you. Killer Q." And then he dropped the pin.